So, never fear, I'm here and I'm so happy that you're there. Oh, you guys, I am just so excited about being here. I understand that they played my little Sunday morning thing that I did yesterday, which I'm totally thrilled about. But I'm just totally thrilled, period. I'm always thrilled. And as I was saying when I first came on, I was sitting here and as I was listening, it seems as though I was listening to two separate programs. One that I was listening to inside of the chat room and another that I was listening to on the tuner. Not sure of why there was a distortion or if there was like a minute lag time from one to the other. Not sure what that was all about, but interesting programs. Both of them were dubbed anyway. And as always, Dove is really just always just so fabulous. So, hello. I'm so glad to be here. And let me start off my show as I love to do all the time. Anyway, this is A Course in Miracles. This is from the introduction, right in the front of the Course in Miracles book. If you want to read along with me, that's great. If you don't, trust me, I know this thing because I've been saying it for years. This is A Course in Miracles. It is a required course. Only the time you take it is voluntary. Free will does not mean you can establish the curriculum. It means only that you can elect what you want to take at a given time. The aim of the course is not to teach to for some reason I just stumbled on that. The aim of the course is not to teach the meaning of love, for that is beyond what can be taught. It does, however, aim at removing your blocks to your awareness of love's presence, which is your natural inheritance. The opposite of love is fear, but what is all encompassing can have no opposite. This course can therefore be summed up very simply in this way: nothing real can be threatened, and nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. So I did mess that up this time, only probably because I said that I wouldn't and that I've said it so much. I messed it up, and it's okay because we heard exactly what we were supposed to hear. So, welcome. I'm so glad that you're there and I'm here. It is amazing to me as I sit here and prepare to do this, the level um, of security that I feel in being and calling myself a teacher of God. And as I go towards doing this work, as I walk in doing this work, how I'm prepared at every step of the way to continue on with what I want to do. So, for those of you who are also walking this path, I'm so happy to see you there. But at the same time, like I always say, that if I look down and I see your footprints, then I'm not walking my path, I'm walking yours. And so I need to be conscious of at every step of the way that I'm doing exactly what I'm led to do. I'm saying my truth according to how I see it. And it's funny because we have this idea that all of us come to this course or to life, whatever it is, and we'll see things the same way. And we truly don't. It's amazing how often we can all be, 100 people can see the same thing, the same event, and 100 people come away with a totally different take on it. So as we walk and we read this course, the Course in Miracles, will affect you very differently than how it'll affect other people. And that's perfectly fine. I mean, what it is that we need to come here with a willingness in our hearts to be open. They call it open minds. I mean, we have to be open to how this course affects us. We bring to it our own set of circumstances, our own background information, the things that we've been through our lives. And so, I can't expect to have the same take on it that somebody else does. I listened to Regina on Sunday and thought that there was such a richness in her talk that she gave. She wasn't talking about A Course in Miracles, but rather she was reading from her journal as she was interpreting the 7 laws of what was that, guys? There were 7 laws power or seven laws of something, but she was teaching from that on Sunday, and it was just so beautiful. And I sit there and I think to myself, I'm not trying to be Regina. I'm not trying to be Dove or Lynn or Tony or anybody else. I'm just trying to do this and bring to it what Sandra brings to it, and know and trust that that is good, wonderful, and just how it's supposed to be. So, I love this stuff. I love this stuff. Can I tell you how much I love this stuff? So, I thought to tell you, and as I was thinking about how this is our own individualized journey. I know that that sounds like a egoic thing. However, I will say to you that I truly and honestly don't believe in a God that is a trickster, in a God who would have you walk an individual walk, have you perceive and have you, come to certain awarenesses, have things happen to you throughout your life if they were not there for a particular reason. It's like we get these individualized lessons that are just for us. I mean, it's just for us, just for our good, just for our growth. And that is what we're supposed to be true to. Now, I also tell people that as I get what I get, as I get what I receive in my life, there is a purpose for that as well. And I can't help but to believe that that purpose is to be shared with somebody else because they may be going through the same thing. And it's a way to help them see through or to come out of whatever they're in. Regina said something interesting on Sunday, and she was talking about, she said, when we try to convince people that what they're experiencing is not real, it's not really helpful. I mean, it's not really helpful to the person to say, that's not real. Because until you get that it's not real, it's real. You know, so it's funny because we use these examples. We go to we see what happened in Colorado, and for us to in the moment tell somebody you know what, it's not that important. Come on now. I mean, at some point we have to become a little more evolved than that to say, okay, how can I help my brother? How can I help them see through it? And it's not to sit there and patronize them and say, you know what, it really didn't happen. That just doesn't work. It doesn't work well. And there is a reason and a plan for everything that happens. Yes, we will all eventually get where we need to go, but there is a reason and a plan of why it's there. And I should hope that we would be supportive in our brothers as they do this. Now, it's interesting because, I told you last week that I found my psychotherapy book that was part of the course that is, and I don't know about you, when I found out that there was a little booklet or addendum to the course, I was thinking to myself, what could possibly be so important that they needed to actually go through and print up another piece to this course? And it's all about the healing and our healing and how we help one another. So, how people become our therapists, how we are therapists, and how we help our brothers through all this stuff. And it's not to say that it isn't consistent, but it is something that is saying, talking about healing in particular. Um, and I don't know that I want to start reading right off, but let me read this. If healing is an invitation to God to enter into His kingdom, that's capitalized H in His kingdom, what difference does it make how the invitation is written, right? If healing is an invitation to God to enter into his kingdom. What difference does it make how the invitation is written? I don't know if I shared that here before with you guys, but there was a guy who I heard speak years and years ago. Um, he had been a part of a church that I went to, a Science of Mind church, and one of the things that the Science of Mind church, they talk about spiritual mind healing. They talk about, God, just as the Course in Miracles does, just as any of these spiritual teachings do. And he said that he didn't know that his journey to God started with the first drink of alcohol that he took. But he said that he went through becoming an alcoholic and doing all the damaging things that he did to his self and his family to put him on a particular path. And he said the first drink was the first step on the path. And that path, I mean, it gets rocky, it gets crazy, it gets dangerous, but that path is taking us to on the journey that we need to go through. We grow through it to go through it, and we will learn. And the moment we get it is right when we're supposed to get it. It's like Mary Baker Eddy said, the instant, because it is all mind, this is all mental, all of this is on a spiritual level. We can make a shift in an instant. And the moment we make that shift, is done, and we can stay there as long as we so choose. Most people want to turn around and look back and think about what's past and try to correct some stuff, or keep going down the same old road, and they know what to expect down that road. They keep going back down that same old path, and for what? I mean, the moment you decide, the moment you change your mind, that's the moment that your healing occurs. I just heard my cell phone go off, and whatever. Whatever. Okay, so Jay wrote on here, that type of stuff is you wanting to look smarter if you say that. I let Holy Spirit guide me and stay in love space. All is perfect. It's not about figuring out what to say. Okay. Um, okay. So it's interesting. When I first came on, and before I even started doing this radio broadcast, um, one of the things that Dove told me is that we're not here to try to make people wrong. We're here to do the Course in Miracles. So so I read somewhere, agree with your brother quickly, that how we see them is how we see ourselves. And so, we have to be about this business of being supportive, understanding where people are in their journey and their path. It's not about beating somebody up and trying to make me right or somebody else wrong. It's all about us all together recognizing this is a journey, and the journey, the destination is assured. The destination is assured. So yeah, let me go ahead and read this. Does What difference does it make how the invitation is written? Does the paper matter, or the ink, or the pen? Or is it he who writes that gives the invitation? God comes to those who restore his world, for they have found the way to call him. If any two are joined, he must be there. It does not matter what their purpose is, but they must share it wholly to succeed. It is impossible to share a goal not blessed by Christ, for what is unseen through his eyes is too fragmented to be meaningful. So it's wonderful when we start to think about it that, and let me read this part too, because I love this whole little booklet. It says each one must share one goal with someone else. I read this the last time. And in doing so, lose all sense of separate interest. So this is not about me. It's not about about you or not about anybody else. It's about us, doing what it is that we do. I mean, you making the choice to become a teacher of God. If that is your calling, if that's what you get joy from, if whatever it is, it's about you stepping up and saying yes to however Spirit moves you. I'm going to read a little bit in here, and not all from the same section. I'm going to be jumping around a little bit because there's so much in this little juicy book um, that I like to share. So in this one section and inside of this pamphlet, the booklet, it says on page 21, God is said to have looked on all his creation, all that he created, and pronounced it good. No, he declared it perfect, and so it was. And since his creations do not change and last forever, so is it now. So get that. I mean, so if he declared you perfect in the first place, then that doesn't change. That is not going to, like, all of a sudden you become imperfect because you do something or because you think a certain thought or you experience something. Our experiences don't mar our perfection. Our experiences add to them, and they point us to this path that is really about an inward journey. So it says in here that sickness is insanity because all sickness is mental illness. And in that there is no degree. So if all sickness is mental illness, it's because now you have somehow perceived yourself as being imperfect. Because you perceive yourself as being imperfect, you are suffering at the results of your thoughts. Now, I love this stuff, you guys. Let me read to you a poem while I'm here. And then I'm going to just kind of relax and just talk because oh, I just love talking. So let me set this aside for a few minutes and then I'll come back to that because sometimes I think that what we do when we rather than trying to prove a point or fight a point or wrestle with a point, I don't have to do that. It is what it is. I want to share this with you, and then I'll talk about some of that. This is a poem done by Ella Wheeler Wilcox. She says, I hold it true that thoughts are things. They're endowed with body, breath, and wings, and that we send them forth to fill the earth with good results or ill. That which we call our secret thought speeds forth to earth's remotest spots, leaving its blessings or its woes like tracks behind it as it goes. We build our future thought by thought, for good or ill, yet know it not. Yet so the universe is wrought. Thought is another word name for fate. Choose then thy destiny and wait. For love brings love and hate brings hate. We hold it true that thoughts are things. You guys, I am always talking to people who are not familiar with the course or with any like teachings other than the traditional teachings that they may have grown up in. I'm always telling them that our world is shaped by our thoughts, that we are living in a spiritual universe. Part of what metaphysics means is that which is not physical. So everything, and this is a biblical scripture, everything that we see comes from that which is not seen. So that which is not seen is this spiritual thought, energy, vibration stuff that operates in back of everything else. I loved at some point when I read some of Joseph Campbell's work, he talked about the cultures that would personify God by being talking about the clown, or the gesture, or this thing that takes your eye off of this serious being that is casting judgment. And in doing so, when we take our mind off of seeing it as this judgmental being that's casting judgment upon us, we see that there are forces in back of that power, give power, empower everything that we see. They animate everything that we see. So when we think about this mental stuff, our minds, our mental faculties, it is that which is not only connected to all things, all minds are connected. It is that which is connected to all things, but it is also that which gives shape and form to everything that we see. So in the beginning, you know what? I did that little that Sunday morning thing, and I just loved it because and I digress. I know I digress a bit. Um, and I do that because I get these brain farts, and I just have to share with you. But sometimes when I'm sitting there in the mirror, I used to do mirror exercises where, a lot of times you go through and people tell you to start when you want to work on loving yourself. You start doing the I love myself, and you look in the mirror, and when you're looking in your eyes, eye to eye, all of a sudden you realize how doggone powerful that is. It is just this wonderful thing. So when I get dressed in the morning, or when I'm doing something and I'm sitting in the mirror, it's like all of a sudden I hear myself talking, and so I did this thing in front of the mirror, and I started talking about, this whole thing about the cosmology, and how God, that the earth in the beginning was the word, thought. I mean, thought. What is a word? Word is a mental or a verbal representation of a thought. And so we give everything meaning, like the Course says. We give it meaning. And so if I give the meaning, if I give the meaning to a cup, I say this is now a cup. And we all agree that this is a cup. So when we say the word cup, we get a mental image of what a cup is. Okay. And that goes for whatever it is. So if we have that mental picture, in the beginning was the word is represented. It's really saying in the beginning was a thought, and it was without form and void, right? And so then it became this thing of when we all said let there be, because all thoughts, we're connected to that oneness, that one ultimate thought. All minds are connected. We take part in this one mind and a one consciousness. And so we said let there be, and we gave shape. Let us create man in our own image. And here we are. We, out of this, Adam, out of the earth, we gave shape and form to that which we are. And so this is an outpicturing. So this whole thing, this universe, everything you see came from a thought. We needed a chair. So what do? You know, we created a chair to hold us up, to support us. I mean, all of these things were at once a thought. When we decided we needed shelter, when we decided all of this stuff was once a thought. Everything starts from thought. So now we're in these bodies. We're now somehow trapped in this body. And what? And thank goodness that I got one that I actually like. I mean, there are so many people who go around and they're stuck in places because they don't like themselves, and they're so busy trying to deny, because there's this self-hatred. But even as we go through and we talk about, you're not your body, you can't. It's so hard to get to a place where you can change something that you won't accept? How do we get to change our minds if we can't even, if we're at war in our own heads, if we're at war within ourselves, within our being? It becomes this thing of, it seems like part of the journey is getting to the place where you love yourself. And then once you get to the place where you love yourself, then it makes it easier for you to go where you need to go, because that gives you a sense of self acceptance, loving self, and all of what you are. All of what you perceive yourself to be gives you a place of self acceptance. And when you get to a place of self acceptance, it puts your feet and your legs and this mind, all of that stuff, it brings it all together and it makes it that much more powerful. Imagine if you were just this splintered being, and all of these different scattered energy is what I think of it as. I don't know. I tell the story sometimes about one day, because I'm always getting these wonderful pictures in my mind. I don't care what anybody thinks about them, or whatever, because it is how I communicate with spirit. We all got our ways to do it. But as I was driving down the street one day, it was as if I saw this action, like tossing seeds out, like people scattering energy. Energy is so important. And when we realize the importance that it has, if we've got scattered thoughts, if we got confused thoughts, if we're not owning ourselves, if we're not owning our stuff, then we scatter our energy about, and we put it in. And I've told people before, I have been a metaphysical tramp. I have gone through so many different teachings. I love. Did I tell you this before? How much I love religions? So I have gone and I have participated in going to classes for Judaism, going to classes for Islam. I have done science of mind. I've been Baptist. I've gone. I love trying to, just understand and take part in this thing that is so powerful, that brings us together, that unites us. And so I recognize, Jesus said, where two or more are gathered in my name, there am I also. God said it, Jesus said it, whoever said it. It is this powerful substance when we all come into agreement on a mental level. So it is our thoughts that are creative. And so once we get a thought in our head, that thought has energy and it draws to us, magnetizes whatever it is that we so desire. So when we're dealing with this stuff, it says in the course, it says that an untrained mind can accomplish nothing. And it's so true. If we're just sitting there scattering our energy, if we have no way of bringing all this stuff together, making sure it's in alignment, making sure our head, our mental part, and our heart space all agree. If we can't bring that together, then can we accomplish really? So this becomes this thing about learning how to own the bastardized pieces of yourself. When I say bastardized, I'm saying those pieces that how we'll disown little pieces of ourselves. It's amazing because so many of us have have this notion um, about self. We've got this notion that somehow, if God said you were perfect and great, that somehow you know better, and you can judge, and you can render God's perception of you void. And yours be somehow better or more significant, or what, I don't know. It just trips me out that you aren't agreeing. And if I think you're wonderful, who are you not to think you're wonderful? I mean, at some point we've got to stand in agreement with stuff like that. Okay, so I'm sorry. Sounds like fun to me. Hey, Dr. Hill, is that what it says? What is the word? Okay, so I was talking about in Genesis when it said in the beginning was the word. And so what I was saying is words are mental representation for thoughts, and thoughts are really the building blocks or the everything. Thoughts have energy. Thoughts have power. They are powerfully creative. They give shape and form and force to everything. And so we have to be about the business of watching not only our words but our thoughts, because they are powerfully creative. Um, and talking about that from the perspective of that poem, let me read you this one. And this one comes from, I read this book years ago. Anna Lee Sarkin wrote a book called Ye Are Gods. And you might remember that because there is a quote in the Bible that says, "Ye are gods, yet you shall die as men," because I forget how exactly it goes, and I don't know that I want to go through and pull out my Bible and read it to you, but that's where the quote comes from. And if you are looking for that quote, you can, of course, just look in a concordance, and it's in there. Ye are gods, and yet you shall die as men. So out of there, it says, "You never can tell what a thought will do in bringing you love or hate. For thoughts are things, and their airy wings are swifter than a carrier doves." Well, that didn't rhyme. "They follow the laws of the universe. Each thing creates its kind. And they speed over the tracks to bring you back whatever you want from your mind." So, it is. It's amazing when it says in the course that you are the will of God. You somehow think that now, even though it says you are the will of God, you somehow think that the journey, that the place you are is not where you're supposed to be. I mean, that's what's really funny to me, that somehow we've taken on this notion that everything isn't working out perfectly how it's supposed to work out. We have this distrust to think that somehow I might have gone down the wrong path or the wrong road, or I'm not going to eventually get where I need to go, and so therefore now I need to start trying to fight. Well, what we're really trying to do here, and what all good teachings do, is to help you to know yourself and find peace on this journey. So all of this stuff is there with this thing, this notion that you're going to find peace, that is going to lead you out of this insane thinking and out of these thoughts that would have you not recognize your own greatness and your own divinity. So did I finish reading this thing? Okay, so sickness is insanity because all sickness is mental illness, and in it there are no degrees. One of the illusions by which sickness is perceived as real is the belief that illness varies in intensity, that the degree of threat differs according to the form it takes. Herein lies the basis of all errors, for all of them are but attempts to compromise by seeing just a little bit of hell. This is a mockery so alien to God that it must forever be inconceivable. But the insane believe it because they are insane. Now, it's so funny because, okay, so I got a couple of things that popped into my head, and so I'm going to go with this first thing. You guys, sometimes I think we have this perception that we know somebody else's stuff. So I'm sitting here, and I am a Black woman in Cleveland, Ohio. Woohoo! And I somehow, as I accept myself and my journey and the things that I've been through, I see and I have a particular perspective of the world that is based on my experiences as a Black woman growing up in Cleveland, Ohio. Let me add on to here, and I'm also single. So I'm a Black single woman that grew up in Cleveland, Ohio. I live here, and while I've traveled and seen some wonderful things, this is where I am. Now, if my perspective on life, if my view of things were not different from, say, let's use Dove, for example, then there would be something seriously wrong, don't you think? I mean, Dove is, gosh, where is Dove? I mean, is he in Colorado or someplace wonderful like that? Tall, white guy that's married. And his perspectives on life is going to be different from mine. Now, Tony, who is here, it was so funny. I don't know if any of you had attended the Cleveland conference here in Ohio, but on opening night, Tony, who is the minister of the church that actually put on the event, we had this guy, Hank, that was the MC, and Hank started in, and he was introducing Tony and talking about all the stuff, and he said of Tony, he was like, "There's my little guy," kind of like, and Tony is not that tall, so I'll say that he's I'm 5'3", and I think I'm taller than Tony, and and so from my perspective, I was sitting there and I was thinking to myself, how did Hank get up there on the stage and say, "There's my little guy" to him? I'm thinking to myself, like, no way is that acceptable. No way is that okay. But for all of us, we've got these different ideas about, about where our wounds are, or what we think is acceptable, or whatever. Our perspectives vary based on our life experiences and who we are. So a tall guy talking to a short guy might have a different perspective. A white guy talking to a Black woman might have a different perspective. All of us are supposed to have different perspectives. That's not to say that one is superior to another. Not to say that anything is wrong with the way but this is my journey that I was given to walk, and I'm so glad that I'm here. And I'm so glad that I can share from my perspective. And the moment I try to trade out what I may be perceiving or what I may be doing or what's going on, the moment I try to trade that out for somebody else's, as if yours is somehow better than mine, then I've lost something in that. I've lost a richness. And so I, uh, so I, it's funny. I get caught up. Okay, so I got this question. It says, Sandra, do you want to say something on idols? I don't see the end part because again, I've got this crazy thing that's on my screen that I have to figure out how to get rid of again. All right, so no, and okay. Okay, so do I want to say something on idols? Okay, give me a minute and then I'll get back to that idol thing, because I love talking about this whole thing of idolatry. But as and this could be put in there too. But but this whole perspective. I mean, we come with a certain perspective, a certain richness, a certain honesty when we're walking our own journey, when we're walking our own path. This is what we bring to the table. And so as we bring that truth to the table, as we do what it is that we're doing, it becomes this thing of this different perspective, so that I can show you something that you may not have seen before, or you can show me something that I may not have seen before. But all of us come and we're here, we're like we are for a reason. And so it all becomes this thing about loving self enough to say, this is my take on it. This is what I see. This is how I see it. Owning that and just being true to that. So sickness is insanity because all sickness is mental illness. And so as we learn to move beyond our mental illness, then we'll get where we need to be. So in here it says, God is said to have looked on all his creation and pronounced it good. No, he declared it perfect, and so it was. And since his creations do not change, they last forever. So it is now. And it seems like I read that part before. Yet neither a perfect therapist nor a perfect patient can possibly exist. Both must have denied their perfection, for their very need for each other implies a sense of lack. A one-to-one relationship is not one relationship. A one-to-one relationship is not one relationship. Yet it is the means of return, the way God chose for return of his Son. In this strange dream, a strange correction must enter, for only that is the call to awake. And what else should therapy be? Awake and be glad, for all your sins have been forgiven you. This is the only message that any two should ever give each other. So awake, all your sins have been forgiven you. As a matter of fact, you didn't sin in the first place. You're right where you're supposed to be. Welcome home. Woo, I love this. Okay, so oh wow, I'm getting short on time. So, this whole idea about idolatry, you guys, I talk about this from time to time, and I don't necessarily talk about it in terms of calling it idolatry, but the Course calls it that. A lot of times we like to invest and put our energy in. So when I've talked about this thing called scattered energy, we like to invest things that we have created with power. You know, it's so interesting. It sort of reminds you of that golden calf that um, you know what this. I'm wondering if some of this stuff that happens to my computer while I'm online comes out of this chat room. I just wonder about that because it seems to try to take over that little screen down there. I'm sorry. But that whole golden calf image, us imbuing certain things with power. So I see nowadays, in this day and time, I see a lot of people that think that their value is in external things. So not even external in the sense of investing our bodies with certain power, but this idea that we invest with power, our cars, our houses, our education, our titles, um, any number of things that we think somehow separates us, makes us special, grandiose, grandiosity, all of these things. We think that those things make us somehow different, special, better, know more, have more awareness. We imbue things with power, that actually have no power in and of themselves. But because we are so busy trying to make ourselves seem like we are more than and I don't even want to say this because we're more than what we know. You just don't recognize it. And since you have chosen to take an image or view yourself as less than what you really are, you're constantly going around looking for ways to give yourself more, to build yourself up. And so there is a chapter in the Course that talks about the picture and the frame. And so it said at some point about how people get confused about what this whole thing is about. They go out and they buy these ornate frames, and the frames are filled with all this, beautiful stuff. I mean, rubies and diamonds, and just got all this calligraphy and everything around the frame, and the frame is just so beautiful. But then lose touch that really the frame is there for the picture that is within it. And so a lot of times what we do is we are busy adding stuff to the frame without recognizing that the real thing, what's really inside us. I mean, what you truly are, this thought, this mental being, is that the journey, that the growth that we need to take is an inward journey, and it has to do with the mind. It has to do with the spirit. It has to do with that self, as opposed to all this other stuff. So you can get all the stuff that you want to. I dated this guy. I dated a professional football player when I was younger, and it was so funny because you know when you come up in the South and everything, it's like you don't really, you come from out of a place where people, you don't have anything, and so when you start learning about stuff and all these signs of status, then you start going out. So he went out. He went out. He was playing for the Browns. So he went out and he bought himself a Rolex watch. And it was so funny because we were going someplace and he said to me, he was like, I hope you know that when we go in here, I'm going to say, hi, this is my Rolex and this is Sandra. It's like, really? Really? Now all of a sudden I've gotten trumped by a watch. Um, but so often people get caught up on what they perceive is valuable. So we're so busy trying to protect what we think is valuable. You know, I mean, everybody is they think that the job or the money or the titles or the position and all this stuff is now somehow more valuable than each other, than a person, than this spiritual self. And how we miss out if we've learned that all of this is about us connecting, us sharing, us coming together on a certain level, and moving forward, because now we've got two people that have joined in consciousness and to walk forward on the same path about the same thing. If we now somehow are so busy fighting one another because, oh, you can't take my marbles, or I got this watch and you can't have this watch, or I got my stuff and you can't have this. If we're so busy trying to now separate ourselves and have this wedge, these idols that we put in between us to say that somehow, oh, we just can't get together. I mean, what is that? If we don't even know ourselves because we're so busy pouring our energy into something else, I mean, where do we really get? I'm amazed at some of the things that we do, whether or not it is, because I was talking to my sister. My sister works for Indiana Wesley, and she was talking about this one coworker of hers, and she said that this woman is so caught up by education and titles, and so she was just talking about how everything with certain people is not only it's about pedigree, it's about education, it's about the schools, the titles, whether or not you, just all kind of stuff. And we use those things to make us, or to placate or feel better, because most people, as they are, they can't accept themselves. And so really, if this course is about knowing yourself, it's about mental training, it's about all that stuff, then understand that you are totally perfect, loved and lovable. You are just where you're supposed to be. and if we just move all that stuff aside, your value is not found in those things. Your value is intrinsic and it was given to you by God. If God says that you're perfect, if God says you're loved and lovable, if God sees you as sinless and has never seen you in the negative ways that you see yourself, who are you to question that? If I see you that way, how dare you question that? Because it becomes this thing of just getting to, I mean, whether it's butt naked, with this body that you have, or if it is getting to the point um, where you just recognize and accept you. I mean, just if you let go of all the physicality of you and just recognize the mental of you, get to a place where you accept that, own your own thinking, own your own thoughts. And when you do that, I mean, it's a really empowering thing. It is a very empowering thing because you get moved off of this, people pleasing thing. And I go back to that all the time, how David Hoffmeister said that people, that there is no private thoughts and no people pleasing. And once we get to that point, we'll get to a different point in how we see things. So no people pleasing, no private thoughts. And if you get to no people pleasing, maybe you'll just own your own stuff. And as you own your own stuff, love you. Ah, that's so wonderful. All right, you guys, it looks like my time is up. And I could talk for 2 hours, but I'm not sure if Barrett Hadim is over there in the waiting in the wings. But I certainly trust that Barrett is someplace close. I don't see him in the chat room though. But it's time for me to let go. So you guys, I'll close by telling you once again all my contact information. I love you guys. And sometimes I get off track and it's okay because I didn't do all the stuff that I wanted to do because I realized that I was being led or motivated by something outside of me. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted to just talk. And so that was what I did. So let me tell you, my website is sandrasaidit.com. Who said that? Sandra said it. My Facebook, you can find me as Sandra D. Bishop. If you friend me, I'll friend you back. I have a fan page on there that you can also watch this Ustream from, and that is at facebook.com/Sandra Thrives. I'm not sure how you get it. Just saw Barrett just come online, but Sandra Thrives is my Facebook fan page. I've got all kind of cool stuff coming on there, and I've got a place where you can sign in. So in case I'm broadcasting at another point or another time during the week, I can send you a message and let you know when and where. And is there anything else that I need to tell you? Oh, I'm still working on my website, and hopefully this new transition, installing some of the WordPress apps and all that stuff will be done quickly, and we'll be back online soon. Or it's still up, but I'll have a new one up soon. So, hey, you guys, I love you. I love you. I love you. Thank you so much for joining me. And whether you're on Ustream or on the chat room, I love you. And I'll talk to you soon. So with that, I'm going to let go of the mic. Hey, Garrett, I love you too, baby. All right. I always dance when I see your name, Barrett. Okay. See ya. I'm dropping the mic. Oh, it won't let me drop the mic. Okay, so let me see why it won't let me drop this mic. Is Dove there to snatch the mic from me? Okay. How do I exit out of here? So I've got to exit the Pal Talk room, you guys, and then I'll be able to come back in. See ya. All right, so I am going to